Okay. Sinatape! Woo! Woo! Okay, Sinatape. It is a fantastic, marvelous day in the United States of America because we have a federal holiday recognizing Juneteenth and recognizing some of the historical truths that have happened in this United States of America. And all federal employees, get this, get the day off. But Native Wellness Institute, okay, welcome to the Power Hour. I had to go out. I've been, I guess they would say Indian jigging. I've been traditional dancing. I've been... that it's Juneteenth, and we're recognizing it as a federal holiday. So please, all of you out there, just jump up, celebrate, just go with it and just enjoy it. Just, think of all of the historical stuff that has happened, from the 1800s or just last week, all the historical stuff that has happened. Just be celebratory that we recognize Juneteenth and we recognize that we had slavery of a human race, that we had slavery of a human race, and that slavery was abolished. And those people were set free. At that time, they were no longer slaves of the system, slaves of the mindset, slaves of the colonization. We have to celebrate that this is a fantastic, I'm dancing till I want to cry. So, who in the hell am I? I'm that old lady that lives in the woods like an old Indian lady. Nistu nidaniko makoyo sokoi. Nistu amskapi pikani. I belong to the Blackfoot Confederacy. I live on the land of my ancestors that have lived here for centuries and centuries, way before Canada, where they found the 215 bodies. Way before the United States, my ancestors lived on this land that I live on, this current land right now. And I just wanted to, I just feel so celebratory. I was, of course, talking with my team, Jolene Joseph and Jean Tagabon and Robert Johnson, Lavina, Lori NewBreast, Jackie Shailene. I was feeling the energy of our Native Wellness team, and we were just celebrating. And now it's the Power Hour, and of course, Power Hour comes, and the topic today was the 215 bodies that were truth-telling found in British Columbia, and then the topic is around Napi Aki, Napi Quinn. In our language, it was the Europeans, the settlers, whatever. There's no correct terms, but the outsiders, when they came, there was a movement to take a lot. Take the land, take the women, take the children, take away the language, take away how you pray, and replace it with how they thought you should pray, how they thought you should behave, and how they thought, whatever they needed to do to manipulate you to, guess what? To wipe you out. It's a fancy word they call genocide. Mathematical genocide is blood quantum, eh? There was all these attempts, but guess what? We're still here. We're still here. We are still here. And we're thriving. We're sober. We're clear-headed. We got our PhDs. We got our indigenous knowledge. We got our indigenous ways of looking at things. And our young people are calmly, coolly coming in, and they have the strategies. All of our younger people under 30 who don't use drugs and alcohol for coping, they are our hope. And so the critical race theory. And then I wanted to, just plant the seeds of healing. Because Native Wellness Institute, our mission is just to keep the teachings of all of our indigenous ancestors alive. All of the tribes of Africa. All of the Condor people of the South. All of the Salmon people of the West. All of the Maori people, all of the Aboriginal people, all of the First Nations. Our goal is to keep the teachings of our ancestors alive. And that's resilient. That is powerful. And today, if you have the day off, watch it later. Because some of you, did you know a lot of Native organizations pay their staff to watch Power Hour because it helps with their self-care, it helps with their coping, it helps with their anxiety, it helps them formulate their own self-sovereignty of healing. And so, but if they're a federal employee, and if you live on a res, you don't always have Wi-Fi. Sometimes some of us only have Wi-Fi at work, and some of us are getting smart, people putting Wi-Fi in drones, they're putting it on wild buffalo running around with a jetpack, They're putting jetpacks. They're strategically putting them along places where Indians go. It's kind of funny because there's one place you can buy like I don't know, a case of red wieners here. So put a jetpack there. So that they can have, and they do at the tribal store. There's this one area you can go in and you can get free Wi-Fi. So, all the Indians are outsiders. They say, what do you do around here? Are you Indians? You ain't got there's half a bar. And we say, go to the tribal store and buy something. Indian buying Indian changes things. If you keep buying from white people, nothing changes. Indian buying from Indian. And so anyway, everybody goes in there and gets their box of red wieners. And they sit there and they get Wi-Fi so they can check Instagram and TikTok a little. I was saying like 65 weeks. I'm 65 years old. I was, just trying to make up a new... Anyway, I hope talking about Wi-Fi. If we shut off, then that means I guess you weren't supposed to listen to me. Creator went zzz, and made the Wi-Fi come back in. So let's visit. And please, in the comments, we look at the comments later. I don't read them as I'm going because it's a small amount of time just to plant some healing thoughts. So, first healing thought is a lot is going on, so keep breathing. Oh my gosh. I've been listening to one of the healing things here because 14 of our members had COVID and they survived. And this past week, each of those persons, first of all, after hugging them, and this is like, I don't know, it's a healing rule. Hug more than a minute. Like, just hug them and tell them you appreciate them. You're glad I just keep saying we're alive. And then I listen to their story. And every time I listen to their story of when they couldn't breathe, and every time I listen to their story when they couldn't taste or they couldn't smell, and every time I listen to their story where they were checking for aneurysms and inflammation in the body, I listen to their story. And, in that story, you can see where that's what critical race theory is telling the truth. You hear the trauma, and then every story is victorious. Every story because they're coming out of it. because they lived, because they could breathe again. You know, just listening to my relative, let's say he's under 35, and what he went through, closest to being hospitalized, but that, and hearing him just say, you know, I look around at the green and I look at the water, and when I can take that deep breath without coughing and let it out, it's a glorious day. It's like we globally had a near-death experience together with some deaths. And so that, just acknowledge that. So I want to just say some comments around why the 215 bodies are so darn important to our healing right now. I'm out right on the border. I could zip up 10 miles. I can't get across right now because it's close to opening, but it has not. So half of my life and my relatives live on that side of the border, which I have not been able to go to for 16 months. And so it has deeply, deeply hurt me. But what I have on this side of the border, all of our tribe, you know what our tribe is, instead of North American Indian Days, on the 10th and the 11th, they're going to have, they call it 2 days of healing, except everyone's going to put on their dance outfits, and we're going to have some drums, and it's just going to be celebratory, feeding. I don't know, there might be some giveaways, might be some marriages, might be some name giving. But they said in lieu of the North American Indian Days, we're having 2 days of healing. And that was announced, and you can go anywhere on this reservation, and everybody's getting prepared for some intense healing. And it might just be a powwow. It's just, you know, we're gathering, and so we're taking what is could be a deficit, and we're turning it into healing. But with these 215, I just wanted to plant some seeds of healing. Please take time to listen to your elders who were in boarding school and survived and thrived. Please take time to listen to anyone older, 50 years or older. Please listen to their story about what they heard about their parents. And the reason Native Wellness were kind of, one of the things with this 215 is it has triggered. And triggered is a word where you see, hear, smell, touch, or your instinct gets triggered by a scenario. And we got all triggered when we heard that there were 215 Native children's bodies dug up. So it's some truth. And so think about, what did you think? And so hear each other's story, and that's where the healing begins. We had so many messages, Facebook messages, so many emails, so many, just so many ways of communication. Plus, in this past month, because we're here, we had 0 cases, just 0 cases. We got some tourists coming in, but with us, we're all vaccinated, and so we have 0 cases. And I'm going to have to let Okon Iron Pipe in, because I have a committed relationship with him, and it's hot outside, and he won't bark like that unless he wants to come inside. So these 215, they triggered on both sides of Siksikayatepi, the Blackfoot Confederacy. They triggered a lot of our I would say second generation. Both my parents were forced and put into a boarding school when they were young. And I'm not going to, just tell you my story or our story in the 30s up to just recently, because we have day boarding school. children were put in a place, and that's where the critical race theory comes into play. It's a term, let's see, academicians, we first heard it, and for those of you who are young, those of us that have lived through the civil rights movement, we lived through it. But it was a theory that was to oppress and not tell the true history, like slavery, like that they took our children and they put them in residential schools, like that they put them in boarding schools, like that they made them pick grapes in heat. Think about Cesar Chavez. Like that when Vietnam people came after the war stopped, we had an influx of Vietnamese people that they called boat people. All of these truths about how we were treated as, and there's these terms, and just embrace them instead of criticizing them. BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, Maroons, half Indian, half African American, and us Indians, in the old days, you don't hear it much. They'll say, "Oh, he's a breed" or "she's a breed." And I guess I'm a breed because I'm only 43/64. Sometimes they say, "Who are you?" I don't know. Nistu Mokoyo Sequoia, but this little card says, "I'm 43/64 Blackfoot." And which part? It's funny. But this 215 and this triggering, there's been so much healing. It triggered, and rather than, when you get triggered, the best thing to do is to be around others who went through the same experience. Hear me out again. When you get triggered, it's best to be around others who had similar experience and just listen with compassion and kindness to each other. If you are a parent who lost a child, which is the greatest wound and hurt that a parent can have, whether you lost them to accident, to COVID, to drugs and alcohol, or they're locked up in prison, like my child. Go and be with other parents who have lost a child. And you listen to each other's story, and there's something magic. It's about Indians listening to Indians. It's kind of like, Gona is just Indians listening, gathering of Native Americans, Indians listening to Indians. And so in that 215, it has triggered so many people, but big leaps of healing. We had this week, one of our big leaps of healing was to invite all of our people to come and learn how to butcher a buffalo. And thank Gigi Kip, thank Willow Kip. There isn't time to say all of Manpower that we got together. And it was sometimes there was a lot of elders who came out, and it was the first time they were out at any kind of gathering. And we came together, and we had a collective prayer, and we had our non-native allies in the room. We had Glacier National Park. We had wildlife conservationists from around the world. We had global representation. We had the executive director of the 75 tribes who have a buffalo herd come. And, we prayed, and man, it was just so cool because there was like children running around, and they actually took the rifle. It was the Carlson family. They took the rifle in which that buffalo, when its life would be ended. We smudged it. We all prayed that it would be you always pray that it's quick and easy, that there's no suffering, and that it brings goodness, and that it's like there's 140 uses or more of a buffalo. And so then they went out to hunt this buffalo over the hill, and so we just all gathered. And so we had some of our again, we're passing the baton. So that means when you pass the baton, let them speak how they want to speak it. And it was so cool. I mean, it was like terrain. Like we had our bullshoe relatives. We had Shauna. They took the microphone, and we lit a smudge for all the kids, all the families, and we smudged so that we would be in a good place before we harvested this animal. Whew. And when they brought the buffalo, it was, we were expecting, because sometimes, people, like, you have gut pullers, they're not afraid to pull guts and clean it out. But there were all these children, and that has to do with these 215. It helped us heal because there was these little 6-year-olds, little 7 years old, because we invited them to help, and we had the ones that always butcher, but we invited them, and I remember there was one little girl who had her, like, Tinkerbell outfit on, but she just got in there because they said, everyone come and touch the buffalo, and she just got in there, and when she got back, she just kind of had blood all over, but she was blessing herself with the blood of that that buffalo. She was blessing herself, and she helped. And so with that, it provided the healing, and then we all of our helpers, they skinned got the hide of the buffalo. All of the kids helped. We didn't, one of the things that you learn in boarding school is, push the kids out, or, oh, they don't need to hear this. No, they need to hear this. They need to be present. They need to see it. They need for you to explain it, and they need to ask questions, because they were asking. We had plenty of time in the 3 days in which they could just ask questions. And so then we took the buffalo hide. It was soaked. A lot of our seasoned tanning people came and helped, and we kind of thought it would just be the adults, but again, the children. And it's that 215, since we've been saying prayers. It's, what do you do? Well, every little child that you see in your reservation or your urban community, you take time and you teach them different, that they are loved. You hold them. All they want is to be held. All they want is for you to tell them that everything's okay. That's all they want. So if you're triggered, get your ass around some kids and be good to them. Be around the kids. And so it was so beautiful, because we had several of us, and this is, you that know the sharpness of the knives are the tools used to butcher. There was kids that we had very sharp knives and scraping tools for the hide. We a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, 8-year-old says, I want to make a hole, because we had to make holes for the pegs. And so I was just noticing, and I was looking around. I was just one of many adults that said, come on, I'll teach you. Now, this knife is sharp, but this knife is the greatest tool, because Ntsitapi, the greatest weapon you can ever have, is a sharp knife, because you can get everything else. So we're like, and they're like, not the strongest. I just loved, you could see it. They were saying, okay, so the sharp edge has to be pointed away. You teach them all the knife lessons, and then you're going to make a hole in the hide where the stake goes, but you're going to make it away from your body. And if you're not strong enough, you have to use your body weight. So here's the little 6-year-old, making a little hole, cutting it. And then when they're done, because it's a feat, they're learning by doing. They're learning by doing. It's not a talking thing. It's a learning by doing. And so one little girl that I worked with, I said, do you want to practice again? Do another one? And she's like, yeah! Like, yeah! And then so by the time the second hole and by the third hole, I didn't even have to help her. I did not have to say anything. She had conquered that skill, and she knew how to use that sharp knife, and she knew how to get it in there and how to cut it so that the steak could fit through. So then we taught them, got the steaks, and so, you know, here we have some mallets and we have some hammers, and again, these are big tools. And they wanted to drive the stakes in. So you gotta, you know, and this is the Europeans, you know, they out of sight, out of mind. That's what they do with children. Those 215 were really out of sight and out of mind, eh? But not now, not now. And so they're here, they're asking us to get your butt up and do something with the healing. So all of the adults, and so it was like, here's the stakes. Where do you hold your hand? And then how do you practice? How do you learn driving it in? And I'll tell you, that same 6-year-old, it took her about 15 minutes to conquer, for her to learn the skill and to pound that steak in so it was solid, so that we could start scraping the hides. And the look on her face when she conquered that, when that steak was in the buffalo hide, and then they could start to scrape. And so, and there were some, you know, it's an epigenetic resiliency. Is when your ancestors are in you, it's in your hands. And there was proof. These kids, they, you know, we had scraping tools, and they had never done this in their life, and they just like, and so then you teach them, okay, go for a while, then sit there and catch your breath and get your best self again, which means getting grounded. Get your best self again, then do it again. 3 hours! 3 hours in the hot sun. I mean, it's not 120 like, you know, Phoenix, but it's hot. That's how Blackfeet say hot. Hot. Man, it was hot. You keep guzzling water. Some Powerade or some, you know, anyway. So yesterday, and I'm just describing, this is action when you're triggered by the 215. We let them paint the hide. And that took, it's weird, because tears, and you know, ladies, there are tears. My tears are different than boohoo tears, sad. These tears are happy tears. And so when I've been crying lately, they taste different. The tears actually taste different. So they, and it's about I would say, about this big by this big. We let them paint Blackfeet designs on the buffalo, and then they're going to make a bag, or they're going to make a parfleche, like a suitcase to hold sacred things. Then you have to let it dry, so that will continue on. And then there was one little boy, and he saw the designs, but he just decided, he just took the colors and went, and it looked just like a rainbow. We thought, yays, rainbow. You know what? And so to make him feel good, you know, and it's not, you know, so I was looking at it and I said, I think that's a Emoitapi, a Bigfoot design. Emoitapi. And Red Gut, I hope you're watching. I know, you know, I love you and appreciate you, but you sure do like to fight around. I love it. But he said the interpretation of the word for Bigfoot was Emoitapi. And what it translates to is the ability to go in and out of dimensions. And it's it's a protector, this Emoitapi. So we said to the little boy that made all that, we said, ooh, that looks like an Emoitapi design. That's beautiful. that is remarkable. Your bag is going to look pretty cool. And so he just went ahead and he just got all proud, and that's our role. Is the way that you heal is raise all of the children, not narcissistic parenting, just your kids, all the kids. Raise your kids good, but all the kids. Narcissistic parenting is European, where just mom and dad, and you just pay attention to the ones you created. No, tribal, collective agreement, all the children. Maslow, remember Maslow? It's this way, all the people. And so I wanted to encourage you, when it even if it doesn't feel good, to listen to those who were in boarding school and listen to how they got this far. I love listening to any of our 70 and older. We're going to have tomorrow at our we don't call them nursing homes or senior citizen stuff. We call it Eagle Shields. So we're all going to Eagle Shields, and we're going to have elders' story of what they thought about the 1884 starvation and on up. And we're going to have story time, and we're going to feed. Listen to the stories and begin the healing. Make it safe enough so they can hear all the stories. And I just, I randomly, so one truth telling. This is the list of the priests and the nuns at St. Xavier in its missions from 1888 on up. And I just wanted to show you this list because this is one area in Montana that you have a list of all the perpetrators, the nurses and the Jesuits that raped the children. And this list comes from Ken Bearchief, Tamaki Law, and the suit that was filed at St. Ignatius that we spoke of earlier on a lot of our information. And it was some of the suit that was used at the Helena Diocese. And so what is, we can, one of the things, don't waste your time getting the correct definition. Just understand how it is in the indigenous eyes. And the critical race theory, I'd say like at least 4 decades, has been around, and a lot of it is to oppress the truth. And because of today, I still want to, I'm just going to keep celebrating all day because of Juneteenth and that it's a federal holiday. And just think how it's just going to roll out. Because 1 year ago today, George Floyd, we were rioting. So remember, it takes time. We are changing because of George Floyd in the world. Black Lives Matter. We are changing, and today is we're on the precipice. We have turned the corner where we're starting to go into the change because we have a federal holiday for Juneteenth. I love Jolene and Jean because I love our whole team, but we can just I tell them, can you give me one sentence of what you think about this topic? And they write me 5 paragraphs. So I love, we're healing junkies. We like to think it out together. But I heard in the civil rights movement that I lived through in the 1960s going into the 70s, I remember a lot of coming from the Black Panthers, coming from Cesar Chavez, coming from Angela Davis, coming from Russell Means, coming from Bill Wapipa, coming from Wilma Mankiller, coming from some of our civil rights. And we were all reading Malcolm X. We all read Malcolm X so we could understand more. They would say this, and I know you've heard it before, but they'd say that truth Because part of the healing to it is we can't go forward or we can't move unless we know the truth, and not half truths, the whole truth. So that's going to take some time. So truth passes through 3 phases, and that was what we heard in the civil rights movement. The first phase is that it's made fun of, it's ridiculed, and it's persecuted, this truth. And then it's violently opposed. And then the third phase is it's self-evident. Whew. And so I go to that part about violence, because it's not necessarily, like, it can be physical violence, but I think about the violence of those 215, what was done to them. I think about this list of the Jesuit priests and nuns. And then I think about, the hundreds of other residential schools and boarding schools. So so get ready to and breathe and take care of yourself, and self-care, conscious listening, skip the shoulds, don't take other people's pain on. But while we're going through this, we might have to search the graveyard of all the other residential schools and all the other boarding schools. I know that here where I live, and I think it was around 2006, yeah, it was around then, we were going to set up an equine thing for youth. It was called POCA. And where the where we call them boarding schools, residential schools on our Canadian side. And when they were digging, they found the skeletons of some children. And that was just brushed under the rug. So we're going to pull the rug up and look at every Chamawa to Carlisle and do some truth telling, because it'll that wound, as it cracks us open, that wound also makes room for a bunch of love, a bunch of the resiliency, and a bunch of the goodness to come in. And so so get ready, okay, let's see, 2021, and this Sunday's the solstice. Woo-hoo! Renewal. Woo-hoo! Bundle openings. Woo-hoo! I was just thinking about all of the stuff that, Indians, we're so cool. They're even having Crow Fair. They're having health conference, prevention and proactivity. We're in it. We're alive, but be ready for the truth telling. And as the truth telling happens, be present. Be well rested. Sleeping hygiene. Be well fed. The nourishing food that makes you get energy. I was talking with Dr. Annette Squintimkin early this morning, because the 4th Friday of every month I do a lot of healing work with Seattle Indian Health Board. And we got to do an in-person medicine camp where we exchanged what medicines, breathing medicines, and what medicines exist. And she said something. She goes, yeah, our team was wondering where at 65, how come you have so much energy? And you don't drink, I don't drink coffee. That's number one why I have so much energy. Anyway, but, and I go, I'm not like that all the time. I'm with you now. Usually, I took a walk this morning in the woods, which I do every day, for 2 hours. And the only thing me and Ocon ran into was our pet skunk. And you know what's trippy? He don't spray us. He saw us coming, and we've been around each other long enough. He kind of got to the side in the bushes, and there's no strife between us, no aggression. And I just said, Buxaput, come on, Buxaput, Ocon, and we walked by. We're like, I don't know, maybe 10 feet from the skunk. He didn't spray us. We walked by, he walked by, and we went on having a good day. That's called a healthy relationship. Between a skunk, a dog, and some old crazy Indian lady that lives in the woods. And I was thinking, and I was just laughing. It's just, I said to myself, why can't we right now just enjoy this day, and from this day start to, as Rodney King, remember when he said, why can't we get along? Remember when Rodney King, because he was changing, he said, why can't we get along? So in the healing, let's start to think how we can get along. Let's start to, and you know, it's not going to boom. It's just like, you know, you ever been through a divorce? Where you're splitting up the house and the material things. Woo! You know, I always think, whoa. You know, then, you know, or you know what the other one is? I just love it when any Indian, they get a whole bunch of money, like they might hit a jackpot or win a case, and you know, they might get, okay, you get $700,000, and they think it's a blessing. Anyway, we always say to them, they get that big windfall of money, we'll say, now you know who your true friends are. Now you'll see who shows up and wants some. Anyway, but that healing that we're moving into, so I kind of wanted to, in our remaining time, Native Wellness Institute, and you know, it's not just us, I mean, we're good at it. I want to talk about a couple of organizations that are trying to move from this, you know, where there's an executive king or queen and some, you know, more higher ups, and then there's all the workers, and like, and turn it like this. Native Wellness Institute, and you know, we're not the best thing going on. No, we're just keep trying to keep our teachings of our ancestors alive. But our team, we try to retreat often, and we redefine. We had to totally, that's what you're in 65 weeks of redefinition. This is how we redefined ourselves. Going in blind, we didn't know how this would go, Power Hour. But you redefine yourself, and so instead of being like this or like this, we're trying to be like this, a circle. We really try with our team, and when we bring in people, we try to, it's like, you know, what's the English word? Vet them. We want to make sure that their social reputation is good for the community. So, like if you're a womanizer and you know who you are, and we all know who you are, that's not a good fit. Or if you're, what did they, and these are horrible terms, and they'd look at a woman and they'd say, how'd she get to the top? And they'd say, on her knees. If you're a manizer, that's not a good fit. If you're an embezzler, sheesh, an embezzler is just a symptom of trauma. You feel entitled, and you got control of the budget, so it's okay to put a little bit of your budget in your pocket. That embezzlers is not a good fit. I'm just saying what we're looking for is facilitators and conduits of healing. And there's been, you know, even now, and we love to do healing around grief and loss. And I was just thinking, so you need a facilitator that, you know, is working with essential workers that can come in and has experience, not stuff from Google or a book or a degree with no experience. We love the degrees. Please keep getting the degrees, but we want the experience. Because in the experience is the true. So this, so Native Wellness Institute, you know, and I really, you know, invite the team. We constantly work on collectively listening to each other and changing course. Like we're right like a lot of organizations where we've been online, we've been Zooming, and then we know the Zoom fatigue, and we know hybrid, and so we're right on that line that we want to keep everyone safe. I mean, earlier this week, listen to, when Jolene and Shanoa were talking about the vaccines. So we're, all of our effort is in rehearing what everyone thinks, and then we decide which way we're going to move. So I wanted to talk about another organization that we really support, and that's Sovereign Bodies Institute. Anita Lusheshai, and now she has staff, which is good because for a long time she's doing all the work alone with no money. And Jackie Keeler, she was doing all the work alone with no money. Hear me? She's a real Indian because all she did was work for Indians. So I only see her as an Indian. So back off. So that Sovereign Bodies Institute, I was just thinking, just because right now they're helping in so many situations in which not only their database, but the families left behind are missing and murdered. And it just, in a nutshell, Anita, fearing for her own life, had to leave, and while she would leave the place in which she was hurt, and then when she started to pursue her PhD work, she started gathering the data. So that's like 10 years ago or more. You can get the specifics from her. And then that data became the database that we have now. It was just finding, because Indian women and Indigenous women were disposable. And that's part of that, the critical race theory is they like to recreate their own white man narrative around it. And so it was, they would record everyone else, but so what, the Indian girl got murdered? So what, the Indian girl got raped? So what? It was like we were disposable. We didn't count. It wasn't data. The police records, no one, we don't need to tell the police, all that. That's changed. Sovereign Bodies Institute is now a sophisticated algorithm in themselves. Even, what's really cool, and I'll just say this part, is they ask the board, I'm on the board, they ask the board, what are their data, because you get the name, you get the location, you get all of where it happened. And so the board said, let's gather all their Indian names. And if they don't have an Indian name, let the family have a ceremony and give them an Indian name. So that on the database, and this is Indigenous data gathering, we're getting all their Indian names. Because once you know their Indian names, you can start praying for them. Once you know their Indian names, they can go through all of the ceremonies. Once they have their Indian name, they have spirit protection. Once they have their Indian name, they are more confident. They have higher self-esteem. Once they get their Indian name, they know who they are. They know who they are. And so, anyway, Sovereign Bodies Institute is gathering Indigenous data. And so here's another thought. And at NWI and at Seattle Indian Health Board, I love Seattle Indian Health Board. We always ally with them. We don't compete with them, we ally. So remember, that's the biggest healing. Instead of competing, ally with them. Is we were discussing an Indigenous resume. so like a white resume, education, and they say that resumes are the best lie in the world because that person looks good. They did this. They did this. And what about an Indigenous resume? So it would kind of look like this. It would have their Indian name, their Indigenous name. And it might even say who the parents and the grandparents are, so you know who they come from. and if they were, or who they were adopted by. And so then you have, okay, so you work with domestic violence or harmony. You list what you work with. And then you put 3 or 4 indigenous people's email, phone number, and they can call them up and they can verify that's what you did. So it's like, talk to this medicine person, talk to this counselor, and then you say your next experience, and I guess anyway, it's indigenous. You say your next experience. Okay, my next experience is talking about stopping the violence against women. And then you list all of the indigenous people who witnessed and saw you do that. And then you list your next piece of experience is that you facilitated experiences where people got clean and sober, and they're still clean and sober today. And then you list all the indigenous names that can say, yes, they did. They vetted them. So anyway, indigenous resume, white people's resume. Or you could have a little bit of both. Because I was just thinking how it, and it had to do with perpetrators. Womanizers and groomers that just go from organization. Man, they got really good resumes. European resumes. We have to have resumes so like the native Weinsteins get stopped. The native Weinsteins don't get to groom no more. The native Weinsteins get to be called out and get some healing. Gene Tagabon, Marcus Red Thunder, Robert Johnson, Clayton Small. I just, bring that man that has no respect for women, that thinks they're disposable. Bring his ass in the middle of that circle and let some men work with him. Let the men help him heal. And women, you stay out of it. You work with the sisterhood. Help the sisterhood work. Help the LGBTQ, the two-spirit. Let them get their circles. Let's concentrate on our healing. I think about that stuff, but I'm still going to celebrate. When I'm done here in 5 minutes, I'm going to go out and I'm dancing because it's Juneteenth. And we have a federal holiday, and we're acknowledging the truth. And all Native Wellness Institute and our team is asking you is to acknowledge the truth, your own truth. I like Mike Duncan and the gang. They say you're only as sick as your secrets. Find the safe place, a safe person, a safe group, a safe 12-step. Come to one of our gatherings, a safe place where you can tell your truth. It may feel like a secret, but get it out there. And you know what happens? Everybody else had the same. That's always it. That's always you say, la, la, this happened to me. And then, la, 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 hey, that happened to me. La, 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 oh, that happened to me. And then there's just this magic space where we just get to heal together. And so that's, we came today. All the federal employees, I know you can't watch this till Monday. No. So all of you, let's just celebrate. Let's finish our, I even called Judith Hellman. She's the executive director of the Montana Racial Equity Program. She's driving somewhere. Theda, what you need? Because that's our alliance. What you need? I go, nothing traumatic. I just want to know how to get to our gathering around Paradise so we can have our think tank on BIPOC and tribes that's going to be happening in a couple weeks. So I just want to... So think about this. Expand your world with friends that are not a caseload. I mean, they all say, yeah, friends... Make friends instead of a caseload where you're just giving and giving. Make friends where they give and give to you, and then you give some, and then you give to them, and then you give back, and there's like this, this healing. That's a true friendship, because we have to roll up our sleeves. I say roll up our sleeves, because we're moving into the second social justice time. we're moving into this year. We're moving around. We're starting to gather, and we have become sophisticated online. We're very sophisticated. The oppressors cannot hide the truth anymore. The oppressors can't hide it. And it's just like, Jolene reminded me that there was 14 congressmen that voted against Juneteenth. Vote them out of office! Get registered to vote! Vote them out of office! Get into action, get involved. And anyway, if you have time, come over here and I'll have a marinated ribeye, a buffalo ribeye. Or come here and hike around, or I want to invite everyone, because I wish you could come, and I wish you could be with my people right now, because we're celebratory. We're getting back together, and we're reinventing ourselves in this transformation out of the blessings of this pandemic. And so I invite you, bring your own tent, eh? Bring your own bathroom, eh? Remember they used to say bring your own booze. Now you bring your own portable toilet and your own tent. No, your own TV. I'm just inviting you, and then invite Native Wellness to come to your place. Cecilia Fire Thunder just wanted to get in an RV, and it's still on the table. And our team just travel and set up a circle of chairs with a smudge and do some healing. So if you see a big old NWI RV and you see Robert Johnson will be driving. He always likes to drive. And Levina is always like trying to tell the map or yell. Levina will be yelling the directions. And the rest of us will just have the chairs ready to jump out, make a circle, and light a smudge and do the healing. And I know you guys are doing the healing. I'm not going to say your own prayers. Make your own, map your own healing journey. Because we're moving into a space, and I'm excited. Even if I died tomorrow, I would be happy because I trust you. I trust that you have enough. I trust that you will bring the healing. The batons are being passed. We trust you. Indigenous 20-something, we trust you. It's just, so with that, we give you an hour. We try to be positive, productive, and proactive. And I hope that I'm speaking to you from my heart. It's unedited. If I've done something wrong, too bad. Get over it. No. I just say I came to you, and I told Jolene I wanted this to be my topic. It's Friday, the end of our 65th week. I'm going to get off, and I'm going to do some more dancing and some celebration. I think I'll get out my Blackfeet flag and go drive around the lake luluing, eh? Because it's a federal holiday. So that means, we can start planning. We can start, it's like the truth is being told. It's just like all kinds of good stuff is going to happen. So, I got up early. I said my prayers. I put out tobacco. I was just doing all the things. I was just hoping I would, with my words, that I could say something to you to encourage you to open the door to healing in your family and healing for your own sovereign body, healing with yourself. And I hope that, there's been some accomplishment. And, kitsikako, mem. My heart to your heart. My hand to my heart. You're in my prayers, and I know I can't see all of you at this moment, but you're in my prayers, and Native Wellness Institute, you're in our prayers. So with that, I'm going to say, see you later. Kitakito Matsuno. And I feel good energy. I'm like, I don't know, I can see you guys. I can feel you. I can feel the love. I can feel the goodness. I can feel what we're all about. So I'm just going to sign off, and we invite you next week, 66. Oh my God. As long as it's not 666, you know, that's a thing about, you know, that's our phone number, 666. But we always laugh because I always say, well, it could be used for good, it could be used for not so good. We use it for good. And we invite you, you know, come be with us, write to us, request. And we're designing some stuff. And my last piece on here is, I was thinking about colonized allies and uncolonized allies. We're open to doing all kinds of healing around these isms, especially the sexism, especially the ageism, and all that. So I'm gonna let you go, but we're always here. So kitakito matsuno.